Welcome to Expanding Borders. I'm Randy Borders, and if you've not hit that subscribe button, make sure you go ahead and hit it right now because we're getting ready to unload content that is not usually in the preaching moment. It's going to be a good day. Today, I want to talk about 5 things I wish somebody had taught me when I first started pastoring. I wish they had told me that I needed to love God more than I love ministry. Now, am I saying I didn't love God? I love God, but I love the performance. I love what I was doing. I love the applause of the crowd. I love the accolades. I love when people would push me. It was an adrenaline rush, and that's absolutely natural. But when you have those things, you got to have somebody that's in your corner. They say, hey, you got to spend time with God. You got to make sure that you're praying. You don't want to get into what the people are saying or what the people are doing, so much so that you miss what God wants to do in your life. You know, many times when we're not ready for what we're about to get, God will let something traumatic happen to us to kind of sober us and to bring us back into that alignment. Sometimes it's pain, and the pain comes, and the pain causes us to lean on God, causes us to learn lessons that we would not have learned before. I'm convinced that some of the pain came because I wasn't listening to the voice of God. So I had to learn to love God more than I loved ministry. Yes, I love what I do, but more than that, I love who I do it for. I wish somebody had told me that you need a pastor, and you need to make sure that you listen to your pastor. Every leader needs a leader. In the Old Testament, they had supervising priests. You had Eli, who was the supervising priest for Samuel. Joshua, whose supervising priest was Moses. In other words, you had somebody who was able to give them instruction. They served someone else. And even after I was a pastor, I've always been a servant. I've loved to serve other people, but what I did not do, I did not listen enough to the voice of my pastor. I needed to listen to someone who had been to where I have not been, to go where I had not gone, who had wisdom beyond my years. And I think a lot of that, the reason I didn't call and I didn't really share was because of pride. I wanted to be the good son. I wanted to be so successful. I wanted to show what I was doing. When all the while, you realize that there's nothing that you could do that they don't know, and they even know when you're fronting. I wish I had just been able to sit down and say, hey, pastor, these are the areas that I really need help in. Will you help me? I had the best pastor in the world. Was he willing to help me? Absolutely, yes. They can't pull out of your head what you're unwilling to say. And sometimes they've got to allow you to make certain bruises, make certain challenging moments, hit walls until you realize that I really need to just make this phone call and find out what I need to do. Every pastor, every leader needs affirmation, affection, and attention. You need somebody to affirm you in God, affirm the way that you're going. You need attention. Somebody say, hey man, I was thinking about you. You need that text. And then you need affection when they just come in, put their hand on your shoulder, say, I love what God is doing in your life, what God is doing in your ministry. And sometimes when you pull away because you want to show them everything, you miss the opportunity to allow them just to pour into you. Being anointed for it and ready for it are 2 different things. I'm going to say that again. Being anointed for it and ready for it are 2 different things. I mean, yes, I was anointed. Yes, I was gifted, but I did not understand a lot of things. I didn't know the way to go. And frankly, there were some things I wasn't ready for that I entered into before time. If you enter into certain things before time, you're going to get the warfare that is attached to that, and you don't understand that. So I wish somebody had told me, Jesus at 12 years old is in the temple disputing with doctors of the law because he knows what he's called to do. But he leaves the temple at 12, and for 18 years, he's submitted to his father and mother. He's under them until the time for him to be released. You have to submit yourself to someone who knows the time that you need to be released. In other words, you are mentored under them, even though you know you're anointed for it, but the truth is, it's not time yet. I wish somebody had told me the difference. The difference, I like to say it this way, and that is that the call is like the egg. The preparation is like the tadpole, but the administration or the leap. It's like the frog, where you leap into ministry. So it is the egg, it is the tadpole, and the frog. It is the call, it is the preparation, then the administration where you leap. There is a process, and I wish someone had told me, yeah, you're called, yeah, you're gifted, but it's going to take time for you to get what you want. And it's okay in taking time. And no matter how many people tell you how good things are, you need to learn the process and not just get hyped over events. It takes time to be fundamentally sound. You need to make full proof of your vocation. I wish they had told me how important my prayer and word regimen would be. Not that I would get a good message and try to ride in the strength of that message and people liked it, but no, because you preach out of your overflow. You don't preach out of your reservoir. You don't preach out of what you have, but there should be an overflow. So it means you're studying to live, which means I wish somebody had told me, Randy, pray harder than you preach. Spend time with God, because that's what really matters. In other words, make private devotion mandatory. When you're going through a storm, you can't afford not to pray. You don't come to church just because you're the preacher. You come to church because you need the presence of the saints, the assembly of the people of God. You need the household of faith. Church was a type of community, and life was meant to be lived in community. And sometimes when you feel like you have the word of the Lord for the people, you stay away because you want to come out with something thunderous, when really you just need to be in community and in fellowship and in operation within the body and the part that you have. And so I just needed to know that my prayer life was so important, because if you don't realize that, you'll rely on your gifting more than you rely on the glory. I don't want to rely on the gifting more than I rely on the presence of God. So there have been seasons in my life where I didn't sense any presence and I was just running in gift, and the gift alone won't keep you. The gift alone, it is something about the passion that comes with the presence of God, that your heart is broken and you do what you do because you love God, you love God's people, and you sense the love of God coming to you to get to his people. The last thing that I really wish somebody had told me, and that is that Genesis comes before Acts. What are you saying? The family was instituted in Genesis, but the church didn't come to the book of Acts. The family always preceded church. And so I wish I had known where I was running, trying to make church, that I needed to make time for my family, needed to make time for my wife and time for my children. And though I was able to do it because people spoke into my life, but I wish I had known how important it was for the vacations, how important it was to take the time. Somebody should have told me, listen, what you're doing is not good. No, do I have a great family? Absolutely, yes. Do I have the greatest children in the world? Absolutely, yes. But I wish I had been told how I could maximize those times and how I could maximize those days and how I could get the strength of it. I extract everything that I can, that my children would say, Dad, I remember all of the things that we did, not in church, but the things that we did in life. And then somebody should have just told me, you can't do everything. When it comes down to preserving your family, I have learned now to preserve my time. And so I realized that time is the currency of the earth. I used to think I had friends, but really I didn't have friends. What I had was people who I invested my time in, and that's what made them friends. It's about the investment of time. You think you have money, but money is what they give you in exchange for your time. Sometimes I gave my time to the wrong things, and now I realize I don't give people an hour that only qualify for 30 minutes. And I definitely don't give people 30 minutes that only qualify for 5. I get to monitor who comes in and out of my life. I am the porter. I am the gatekeeper. And so I get to monitor my time, and I don't let people take possession of me as I did in times past. I just wish somebody had told me. And so I learned to love God. I learned that it takes time. I learned to walk this thing out with grace. And because this is what I learned, I get to help other people expand the borders of their life. If they're living in a place of restriction, I get to help them push back the walls and begin to live. Jesus said, I've come that you might have life and have it more abundantly. We think that he said, I've come that you might have church and have church more abundantly. So we have a whole lot of church and a little bit of life. He said, I've come that you might have life and have that more abundantly. Listen, if you do anything in this season, you are going to live.